The objective of this presentation is to talk about the changes in organizational development across the world and also present to you some of the thoughts on what is happening in this part of the world in building OD professionals. There are lots of new challenges, and therefore the methodology of building OD professionals also has to be different. So in this talk, I would like to present something about the different methods that were used in the past and the changes that are required given the changing nature of organizations and the demands that are coming up on the OD profession. OD is almost about 100 years old if you go to start from Taylor's scientific method and so on. The modern OD may be about 70 and odd years, starting from Kurt Levin's time, and a lot of things have happened. OD is defined as planned change in organizations. The purpose of OD is to enhance the short-term or long-term effectiveness of organizations. The effectiveness of an organization may depend on individuals, their personality, their orientations. The dyads, the way the chemistry between boss and subordinate, customer and supplier, employee and employer gets developed. If you have strong two-person relationships, you will have good organization. Similarly, if you have teams, good teams, you have a good organization. If the roles are well developed, you will have a good organization. Goals, strategy, structure, systems are strong, then you will have a good organization. So OD is a planned change to build individuals, build roles, build teams, build dyads, build inter-team collaboration, build the right kind of strategy, structure, systems in organizations. In all these, the most important part of OD is OD uses behavioral science knowledge, and therefore OD depends on OD professional or OD technologist who is normally a behavioral scientist. Now, before we go on to the talk of the OD profession and changes in OD profession, we need to understand the challenges that organizations are facing. Most of you, either practitioners or teaching in the universities, know very well the kind of challenges today organizations across the world are facing. The most important change is what has been introduced by technology. Artificial intelligence, social media, robotics, and a whole lot of technology and declining price of electronics and other kind of things. In other words, technology is accessible to anyone, throws new challenges for organizations. Many organizations have become now global and they are acquiring. And earlier, a few decades ago, people were hesitant because they didn't have money. But today, you have multiple sources of borrowing money. And when you have multiple sources of raising funds, you are acquiring organizations, you are merging your organizations. So mergers and acquisitions have become common. Organizations, therefore, have very short life. They are very short-lived. And there is also an increased emphasis today on entrepreneurship, entrepreneurs, startups. So we are encouraging across the world people to think entrepreneurially. In the traditional industry, most of the organizations you will find in some of the Asian countries, there are multiple generations working under the same roof. So you have people who were born in 50s, 40s and 50s, and you have people who are also millennials who were born in 1990, having altogether different kinds of personality. The older generation wants long-term kind of benefits, whereas the younger generation wants short-term. They want cash in hand. they are impatient, and there are a number of things. So within the same organization, if you have multiple generations working, you need to think about managing them. There is also increased sensitivity across the world on the advantages of diversity and need for including people from low income communities, people with good gender distribution, and people with different kind of backgrounds and so on. And on the top of it, you have global competitiveness. So with all these changes that are going on, today we call the organizational world as VUCA world, volatile, uncertain kind of a world. In this world, if organizations have to be made to be effective, then the change needs to be faster, because we don't know tomorrow if an organization which is existing today is going to exist or not. So therefore, if people have changed, if organizations are facing new challenges, obviously there is a need for a new breed of organization development agents. However, the new breed need not be a totally new breed. This is because human behavior has remained essentially more or less similar across the last several decades. So therefore we say some of the basics of organization development, or OD, still remain intact, and we cannot totally discard them. What are these old theories, all old wisdom that we have in OD, which still remains unchanged? First thing is, OD will continue to remain as a planned change. If you don't plan the change, organizations will go in all kinds of directions. Therefore, even if the change is short lived, you have to plan the change. That is what we say. So, the basic of OD is a planned change, remains the same. And OD deals with human behavior. Therefore, the concept of change focuses on people, and the need for behavioral science knowledge or specialists is there, is again remains unchanged. In OD parlor, we use it to say organization development should always be supported by the top. Top management support is essential for organization development. That postulate remains unchanged. Also, across number of years, we discovered if you try to bring change in any one subsystem in an organization, the change will affect the other subsystems in an organization. Therefore, any change that you can think of has got to be holistic. You may change a small part of the organization, but you need to think of its implications on the rest of the organization. So these are some of the old postulates or old theories of organization development which remain valid even today. However, in view of the VUCA world, volatile, uncertain environment, uncertain, complex and ambiguous environment, we need to think of different kind of organizations, because organizations want fast solutions. They have no time. If they take a few months to solve a problem, by the time a competitor may have come up. And they also want to have lasting solutions. They want to have effective solutions for short life. I think this is very interesting. Most organizations want solutions for a short life. At the same time, knowledge and wisdom on change acquired over the last several decades of work must be put to use and modified. In the past, OD, organization development training of organization development facilitators, started with a basic human process lab. This is how the entire T group training of National Training Laboratories or Kurt Levinian model came with. The T group training or the basic human process lab focused on helping each individual to understand his or her own personality. So it's based on personality psychology, individual differences, and used a variety of psychometric tests like MBTI, Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, 16 Personality Factor Inventory, California Personality Inventory, Thematic Perception Test, Maslow's Need Hierarchy based kind of inventories, and study of Asian leadership styles, role of achievement motivation, etc. etc. All these individual based interventions were immensely found to be immensely useful, and they continue to be used. Similarly, in organization development, the focus has been on interpersonal competence and dyadic relationships, strengthening interpersonal competence, either through transaction analysis, coaching, and performance coaching, and performance dialogues. A whole lot of things came into existence. These are all organization development uh, interventions. The training focused on how do you help the facilitator, OD facilitator, to build interpersonal competence. The OD training also focused on, to a large extent, on team, group dynamics, team behavior, and how to use team for how to make teams effective, because most organizations work through teams, and if you strengthen the teams, you strengthen the organization. Into team collaboration and organization building, organization development, change, dynamics, etc. etc. So the old training focused on some of these basic things. So therefore, the interventions were individual based interventions, feedback of change on motives, values, learning styles, two-person strengths, coaching, counseling, team building interventions, role efficacy interventions, force field analysis, and things like that. So these are all based on sound theory, years of experience, and interventions that work. And flexibility has been used. Organizations had time and commitment to have implement the theory of organization development in the past. We will talk now of the new dimensions of developing OD in the second part.